Oh, hello there. You're listening to Unnatural Selection, the show about newsy type stuff and things. My name is George.
And my name is Adam.
And with our powers combined, we are but only 2/3 of the full strength of Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com, for things and stuff. And make sure you follow us on all the bullshit social medias that have, do, or ever will exist at our handle at Unnatural Show, including TikTok and YouTube, in which you will be experiencing a glut of clips this week because I forgot to post all of the clips I made last week. So you're getting double the clips.
So many clips you can't handle. 66.66 recurring. This week, Tom has got tonsillitis. He sounds like the thing off The Exorcist.
I thought you were going to say Tom Waits gargling gravel, but...
no, it's worse than that. I feel really bad for him. I hope he gets better because that's rough. And he said he's not doing
good.
Okay.
But on the other hand, he is very well placed to record a bunch of TikTok videos reading the first chapter of a romantasy novel or something like that, and that's just going to generate.
I'm sure there are people that are into that. I'm sure there are
lots of them on BookTok.
And you would know that because
I have strayed into BookTok. Yeah. I don't go in for the horny romantasy stuff. There's a lot of horny people out there. Like if you go on the Amazon, there's certain Amazon Prime free books that you can get on Kindle. And I was looking at it last night as I was finishing a chapter on of the Game of Thrones. Is it A Feast for Crows? I think. And I was just like, oh, what's on there? I'd just be curious to see what the Amazon Prime free books are, and the top charts are all horny as fuck romantasy novels. There's 2 or 1. Every single one of them is I fucked a minotaur. It's just what the fuck?
A couple of weeks ago, I was like, you need to stop reading Michael Wolff's new book and just get into that section. Just start going into that section and release.
It's real horny. I didn't realize how much of the publishing industry is really based around just
it's like anything, George.
Clit lick, clit lick. Oh my god, where's
there
my
are some
brain
people
today?
that watch pornography. There are some people that
read pornography,
listen, click, lit.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you get to do both now. You can listen, you can learn
with Whisper Sync. You can go straight from one to the other. Yeah, you can listen
at the same time.
And then when your hands are no longer occupied, you can go back to reading it.
It's a whole raft of stimulus for your pleasures out there in the world. But we're going to talk about the news because that is much more exciting.
Speaking about getting stimulated, the US this week was stimulated. This is a news and politics podcast, in case it wasn't clear.
Yes.
That occasionally strays into humor when all else fails. The US government this week was stimulated into breaking its ceasefire with Iran. Now, we reported so we reported last week that Trump said, we're very close, incredibly close. I'm so close. I'm coming. I'm going to come. About this deal that he had with Iran, and it was mere moments away. There was a memorandum of understanding out there, and everyone was poised, braced even for markets to recover on the news that a deal with Iran.
I mean, the markets did kind of recover anyway, but yeah, that's beside the point.
Which goes to show you that the markets don't know shit about fuck. There's been a lot of commentary on Bloomberg in recent months where they're like, why is the market not reacting to all of this?
Because the market, I think the market is literally just, it's all just everyone's Claude bots now. Or, other bots that,
Claude, how are you? Shut up. Making me a trading bot. 10% day on day returns.
It's either individual trading bots or it's, super, investment funds with their own algorithms that are just looking at the graph. They're not looking at the news. They don't care about the news.
Yeah,
it's just what the graph is doing in micro fractions. And if the graph is going up, the graph just keeps going up. And as soon as the graph dips for whatever reason, and it might just be that some people haven't got as much money that week, then it can change the whole thing. So
two things. There's this phrase that they talk about that they talk about on Bloomberg called flows before pros, which is basically the flows of capital into the market dictate much more about the price than what the pros say, like what analysts say about like whether a stock is good or not. Like that whole idea of like value trading, that whole Warren Buffett, like you look at a company and you look at its fundamentals and you decide whether it's a good bet and then you buy it and hold it forever. Like that whole thing is more or less dead. It's all just technical analysis, as you say. And technical analysis is the term for, it's a very lofty term considering what technical analysis actually is.
Looking at a graph, bro.
It's just looking at the graph and looking at the momentum and the trading flows and going, oh, people are buying in. Oh, that's the price. That's the floor of where it hit last time, and so that's when I'll buy in. Like it's all just momentum, trading flow kind of analysis based on charts. It's like completely decoupled entirely from any sort of fundamental value of the assets being traded. And I think everyone's like, oh, Trump likes the markets. He'll sort it all out. He's buying Nvidia. Like we'll all be right. And they're just kind of like disregarding the reality that they can see in front of their eyes, which is 20% of the world's petroleum is still not flowing, and there doesn't seem to be any end in sight to any of that. And they're just kind of going, Trump's a bitch, he'll chicken out and she'll be right. It's the she'll be rightification of the entire global market. And I'm wondering, like, at what point did the market start to go, do they sort of wake up and go, oh shit, this isn't actually changing for the better? Like, I think we're just stuck with this scenario. And I think when people start realizing that, there's going to be a big reaction, because I don't see this getting resolved anytime soon. Because as we pointed out, there were in negotiations, Iranian negotiators traveled to Qatar last Monday to discuss the frozen assets and talk further about this memorandum of understanding. And Trump was saying, we've solved pretty much everything except the Strait and the nuclear. And it's like, well, those are the kind of the big things, Donald. So it was whilst those delegates were in Qatar negotiating this alleged peace deal, which we said last week is obviously fucking horseshit, that the US then continued bombing Iran, targeting missile launch sites and
allegedly
boats.
they were going to lay mines or something, but
it was attempting to lay mines is what CENTCOM said. But like,
it's the second time they've done that. But look, it's
not
news.
It's
news to say
if you keep firing.
It's news, but it's not news. This is the thing: is that nothing's actually changed fundamentally on the ground. Nothing's really changed. They bombed some extra assets, some people died. Very sad. But in terms of the geopolitics of the whole thing, nothing's actually shifted. And Trump, again, is just, it's like there's no logic to anything he's trying to do. While they want to get out, he's talking about blowing up Oman or something the other day.
Oman's like, why are we catching strays? What are you talking about? So basically they're talking about, it's not going to be a toll booth. Right, it's not going to be a toll booth on the Strait of Hormuz, but between Iran and Oman, you might have to pay some navigation fees. And it's like, well, that kind of sounds exactly like a toll booth. And then someone asked President Trump, well, what do you think about, Oman? And he's like, well, they're going to behave themselves, otherwise we're going to bomb them to bits. It's like, what? Oman is not an enemy in this conflict. Why are you expanding the regional conflict, which has already expanded too far further by threatening to bomb an unrelated third party who's done nothing to you?
And there's the whole question around what they're doing with the nuclear material. So, like, there was something that was an announcement.
We got to get the dust. I need the dust.
Truth Social, where they were talking about, we'll allow the Iranians to destroy their dust on site. We'll get the UN weapon inspectors in there to do it.
The UN weapon inspectors that they shit-talked under the JCPOA, saying that they were bullshit and that the Iranians were going to do it anyway. All of a sudden, we trust those guys now, the American government. That's interesting.
So conceptually, what they want to do here, by the way, we should clarify. The Memorandum of Understanding, again, not a peace deal. It's a memorandum of understanding. It's a mum.
It's literally a piece of paper with a couple of signatures on it saying, let's keep talking.
That would basically say we're going to open up the strait under whatever arrangement they come to.
Yeah.
And then the nuclear stuff is going to be kicked down the road for 30, 60 or 90 days.
Yeah.
So the conflict's not over necessarily. It's just, it's step one in a 4-part plan or something. Meanwhile, Iran, of course, is tying the whole thing that there has to be a peace deal in Lebanon, and that Israel needs to chill the fuck out. But of course, Israel this week
Israel
actually pushed further into
fresh
Lebanon.
Strikes this week. Yeah, cool. Thanks, Israel.
They've also meant to have a ceasefire in that country, and that's not holding.
You cease, we fire. That's
every couple of days, a couple of Israelis are getting killed. Young reservists and whatever else are getting killed from the conflict they're being forced to do or be part of. Not to mention all the so in Tyre, so that Tyre's, this is the other thing, like there are some of the cities that the Israelis are targeting in southern Lebanon are ancient, like World Heritage.
Oh, they don't give a shit about any of that.
Like Tyre is like one of the centers of the Phoenician civilization, and they're bombing it. And I'm sure maybe they're not bombing the historical sites, but they're bombing in and around it. There's a whole migration crisis of people pushing out of southern Lebanon, further up the coast, further up north, and there are these places that have been receiving refugees already can't deal with the extra swell of people that are coming in.
Yeah, they've displaced like a quarter of the country in Lebanon.
So this, the complicating factor is here. So Iran wants to basically put the Lebanese situation, tie it to this peace deal. But even if Trump wanted to do that, and I think Trump would actually say, yeah, great.
He doesn't give a fuck. He's like, yeah, fine, great.
Yeah. Good luck getting Netanyahu to come on board with that.
A loose cannon. Yeah, he's not going to do what he's told. There's one thing that we've learned about Netanyahu. Like, apparently Netanyahu's been like apoplectic about this potential deal going through. He's like freaking out. Like,
for him, it's a bad thing. He wants this war to continue. It's we've talked about it before. It's like it's part of his way of avoiding any consequences. Just keep the war going and keep the can down the road.
Yes, we keep the genocide going, but I really don't want anyone looking into the cigars. That's the real crime. Is the thing where they were looking into my obvious corruption.
And I've said this before, the only way Netanyahu, I think, faces any consequences if the Israeli people actually force him to have consequences, and I don't see that happening at this point.
No, it's pretty popular what he's doing in Israel, so
that's what I'm saying. Look, internationally, like, the Israelis can seem to be doing whatever the fuck they want. Okay.
Yeah. And like, who gives a fuck if it nerfs the entire global economy as long as I get to do what I want to do.
To actually affect change, it has to come internally, and that's not going to happen. So
I don't see it.
This whole situation in the Middle East, maybe they get the memorandum of understanding across. Maybe trade opens up a little bit. But it's going to kick the situation in Lebanon is going to keep going. The nuclear situation, the question mark's going to hang over their heads, and we'll be back here on the same stage, assuming they resolve this, let's say in the next month, we'll be back here on the same stage in 6 months to a year with some other sort of escalation or conflict based around the same core issues, which we didn't need to be doing.
No, none of the entire negotiations up until this point have been to return the world to the state where it was in January before all of this kicked off.
Which was also bad. And got
worse.
It
was fine. We didn't have a 20% of the world's oil supply fucking choked off, right?
It was also not good because, the conflict in Gaza and October 7's been going on. The Israelis, since Trump pulled out of the what's it called? The JCPOA?
JCPOA, the nuclear deal. Yeah.
Iran's been funding and pushing terror across most of the Middle East. Like, it's the whole situation you can pinpoint it back to Trump, basically.
Yeah. So Trump pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal in 2015. And the remarkable thing is that as a result of everything that's happened, the only real way of finding a resolution to the current conflict is by basically signing up to a shittier version of the JCPOA that's worse for the Americans than it was before. Iran now knows that they can control the strait. They also have greatly destabilized the region and broken trust and confidence in doing business around there. They've also damaged a lot of the oil facilities and extraction facilities around there. I just
don't understand how
everything is much worse.
The Americans And this is like classic American 20th century American foreign policy.
Shoot first, ask questions later.
Post World War II, foreign policy of we'll stick our dick in and then it's actually made it worse.
And the idea, I remember there was like such strum and dram among the Republican blob after the Iran nuclear deal went through under Obama about the pallets of cash. Oh my God, the Iranians got $400 million in American cash delivered in pallets. I think it's the visual of the pallets of cash, maybe, which is just rocked them like psychologically. But the thing is, it's like the amount of assets that are in Qatar that would need to be unfrozen for this deal to go ahead would be like many, many orders of magnitude more than that $400 million worth of cash. Part of it is if you're reaching a détente with an enemy, you don't do diplomacy with your friends. You do diplomacy with your enemies. And sometimes that means making compromises like unfreezing their assets.
Giving them a shitload of money
and giving them money
keep
back.
the regime,
to keep them happy, right? Like that's...
At the end of that,
it's not American money, by the way, that they were giving to the Iranians. It's the Iranians' money that they unfroze from like sanctioned monies that they were then releasing back to them in tranches in order to get them to comply with this deal. Yeah. You need a carrot and you need a stick, right? So all of this has been worse since 2015. And now, 11 years later, we're circling back to a situation where it's like, JCPOA, but shit. and like we're just back where we started, but in an even worse position. Like the amount of incompetence in this, in this administration, it's beyond staggering. It is like breathtaking incompetence.
And it's so everyone, the markets can do what they want, as we said, but I mean, on the reality on the ground is we're living in a more unstable world.
And there's all that, as well. And guess what? They still got the dust. We need the dust. I'm so horny for dust.
God knows what's happened to the dust now. Like, I mean, if the Iranians have probably started, they've probably moved it,
split
it up. Is this all the dust? They're like, yes, it's all the dust.
Totally.
Totally all the dust.
He just kind of like looks at the dust, just kind of like points his thumb at it like, that seems about right.
That's about enough dust.
You sure?
How much did you say it? 400? 400 what? Grams?
400 dust.
400 dust.
We've got 400 dust. And you can have it all, buddy. And that's all of it.
Anyway. The news is that there is no news and it's just continuing and will probably continue for some time. So...
Like I'll believe it when I see it. Even if they even if they do have a magic deal signed tomorrow, I'll fucking believe it when I see it. And when traffic actually starts moving through the strait again, anything you hear prior to then about the war being over is just fucking spin. It's all fucking just bullshit. Spin. It's all spin and bullshit.
Spin, talking points, and neuroses, I think, mostly. Speaking of bullshit, Blue Origin just blew up their new rocket.
On purpose or?
No, it was by accident.
Okay.
So the US has been furiously, for the last 10 years, wanting to go back to the moon. We're going back.
That was the Artemis 2 mission last month or whenever it was to fly around the dark side of the moon. That's a Pink Floyd song. Yeah.
They're doing this in many different ways. So there's the official NASA stuff with the Orion capsule and the SLS, and they've also got SpaceX, doing their stuff. They're contracted with the moon. The actual contract for the moon lander is with them. They're
talking about a moon base, aren't they?
Yes. So Blue Origin is so they've changed the strategy. So they were going to do like a space station. Now they're going to do a moon base. And what they've done is NASA's actually awarded Blue Origin a bunch of contracts related to that. So basically, Blue Origin...
Wasn't that because they sued? They're like, you can't give everything to SpaceX. It's fucking unfair.
But this is the thing: this has been going on since like the end of the Obama administration, right? Like the lead time on going back to the moon is taking a long time because the hardware's not there.
As evidenced by the explosion today in Florida, yes.
Yeah. They awarded SpaceX the contract for the landing. since then, Blue Origin sued. I don't know what happened with that lawsuit. I don't think it actually got up in the end. But either way, they've started to actually give Blue Origin some other contracts and have sort of opened up the door of, well, we just want to make sure that we're getting the best for the American taxpayers. So, ways basically putting the pressure back on SpaceX to make sure they deliver. But, apropos of nothing.
Here's what the American taxpayer has delivered.
Well, to be clear, this is not the taxpayer. This is a private company.
Yeah, okay. Blue Origin, which is funded by who?
Jeff Bezos.
No, but who's paying these government contracts that they're getting? Who's paying into?
I don't know if this
company
specifically is. This particular vehicle has been paid for by taxpayers. But anyway.
What happens to this vehicle? Let's just have a little look-see. This is mainly going to be a visual thing. You'll know when the thing blows up because you hear people go, oh, no. And they're doing a test fire of the rocket, and boom.
Oh.
Mushroom cloud. Oh, wow. They just nuked the pad. That just shows how crazy shit is in Florida. That people watch a nuclear bomb go off across the bay and they're just like, oh, that's fucking crazy, bro. These shrooms are really starting to hit, man.
So there's a rocket called New Glenn, right? Which is what we saw.
Well, there was.
There was.
Before it was vaporized on the launching pad.
Blue Origin have been... they've been ferrying Katy Perry up into space in their other rocket called New Shepard, which is a little tiny one. This one's about the size of a skyscraper,
substantially larger.
And they're trying to compete with SpaceX basically in terms of payload capacity, reusability, and that kind of thing. They've had two successful launches and a successful landing. So they've currently got partial reusability. This was another launch using that same system to try and launch a bunch of Amazon's satellites, the Amazon satellites, which are trying to compete with SpaceX's Starlink, right? Mm. And they were doing a hot fire test, which is basically where they start the engines but don't take off. They anchor it to the pad.
It was hot.
And it was real hot.
It was real hot.
Incredibly hot. And then, it turns out with one of ththese things blow up, it's the size of a small...
It looked like a nuke
tactical, it's got to be. I mean, I'd love to know the physics of it. I'd like to know the actual explosive size.
Big explosion.
But there are people in towns, kilometers and kilometers away that could feel the shockwave coming through.
Yeah.
Right?
It was a legitimately, massive explosion. And I'm just...
And Jeff Bezos called it an anomaly.
Using my... Yeah, an anomaly. Yeah, is how Jeff Bezos described it. Here's me using my, stainless steel straws and LED light bulbs, and trying to get solar panels to save the planet. And here's Jeff Bezos just setting off nukes in Central Florida. What the fuck?
It's insane. It's just
make sure you don't use plastic straws anymore because of the. Oh, sorry, that's Jeff. Don't worry about Jeff.
There's a reason, these are the kinds of rockets that are, we haven't. The size of these rockets, are getting very large. These are some of the most powerful rockets ever created.
Because presumably they're trying to make it more efficient to get stuff into space by having larger payloads and that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah, so there's the rocket equation, which we won't go into, but the concept is the more stuff you want to get into space, the more thrust you need, the more fuel you need, and the heavier it is, which therefore means you need more thrust.
So it's sort of a balancing act of
it becomes an exponential sort of thing, right? But the way they're getting around it is, they're having more efficient engines and bigger rockets with more fuel. So when one of these things goes up, it's catastrophic. So this is probably totaled. I mean, you'd have to assume it's totaled the entire launch facility.
Yeah, it's just nuked it. Yeah.
And SpaceX blows up a rocket every couple of weeks. What it seems like, not every couple of weeks, but
I don't
quite
know,
often.
Man.
But
it really just seems like these billionaires with their dueling egos are trying to make the biggest, splodiest boy.
It really does.
I don't know. Is this really? Yeah, at least in during the space race in the 60s and 70s, there was America versus the Soviet Union,
national pride.
National pride. It was the cutting edge of scientific endeavor. It kind of felt like I don't know, I wasn't there, but I imagine it felt more purposeful, like it's about defeating communism, right? Rather than just like Jeff wants his big fucking space stick out of, you know what I mean? Like it just feels very petty.
Jeff, it does, the whole thing since Blue Origin started has felt very much like Jeff wants what Elon has. That's what the whole thing has felt like. And they've got different approaches. So SpaceX's approach is iterative, break things, let's work it out. They explode lots of rockets to try and get to a state of good. Blue Origin have been fairly more cautious and research driven, I guess, with their
maybe not cautious enough given the exploding rocket that we saw on May 28th.
Anyway, so they've totaled the launch pad. They'll have to rebuild that. Plus the rocket components themselves. I don't know how many spare ones they've got, but they are also building a facility which can just pump these out, similar to SpaceX. But yeah, I mean, I find it really weird that we're entering this sort of like new space race, situation, and meanwhile we're competing now with China. When I say we, the West is now competing with China for the moon. This is the new Soviet, capitalism versus communist sort of.
So we've solved healthcare. We solved it. We've cured cancer. That's all done.
That's all fucked. Don't worry about it.
We solved aging.
No. But I find it very weird that
everyone can afford to live. There's no cost of living crisis. Like we sorted it all out. Now that we've solved all of the catastrophic problems, then we can then turn our sights to like maybe grander strategic.
No.
Okay.
No. And SpaceX is still going to be valued around $1 trillion or something. Just a cool trill. It got just devalued a little bit.
Between 1 and 2 trill, depending on who's asking.
I just find it weird that we're going to be blowing one of these up every couple of weeks just to see if it works for fun. It's like throwing money. Like each one of these rockets is probably worth, a couple of billions.
Yeah, it'd have
investment. To be. Or at least hundreds of millions, if assuming you brought your costs down. Anyway, crazy.
We've got to be blowing one of these up every couple of weeks. We've got to get us some economies of scale on these rockets so we can keep blowing them up. I don't know, man.
Did that work? No. Did that work? No. Did that work? Oh, a little bit. Try it again. Did that work? No.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
You can't because you blew it up. Speaking of bashing your head against a brick wall, the Liberal Party has elected Tony Abbott as their party president. In Australia.
We're living in 2015. We've gone back in time. We're back 11 years. Tony Abbott is, in a senior leadership position in the Liberal Party. We're talking about doing an Iran deal. Like, we're blowing up rockets on the launch pad. Like, nothing changes. Time is a flat circle. So you're telling me that the Liberal Party's vision of the future that they're trying to sell to the Australian public is the past.
You have to go forward.
There were no immigrants.
To go backwards.
There were no immigrants. You could one wage could afford to feed a whole family and buy a house. And Tony Abbott's in charge. The future values that we all envisaged.
It's about values, George. It's really about values driven.
Yeah.
Politics.
My values, for example, are that I'm a xenophobic shithead. For example, those are my values. Is that I'm a cuck piece of shit. So.
As Tony Abbott, not your personal values.
I don't know. It depends on who you ask in the comments, I suppose.
So yes, the Liberal Party National Convention, annual National Convention, is currently on, and in day 2, Tony Abbott was elected unopposed to be the Liberal Party president. What does that mean? He basically is the head honcho of the party. I guess infrastructure, if that's the way
he's
to
the guy in the
about
smoke-filled back room making appointments, sort of running the show while Angus Taylor's obviously the leader of the party, right?
Yeah. So their job is really to, fund, and cultivate grassroots, memberships. Their job is to, get money in the door to help run elections and to field candidates, basically, to try and get candidates stood up in different seats. So that's kind of what the party, a political party does in the background.
The party apparatus.
While the elected officials are doing their thing.
Our challenge, Mr. Abbott said, between bitefuls of raw onion, is to persuade a skeptical public that we remain the most credible alternative government for this country, Mr. Abbott said, whilst somehow not bursting into peals of laughter.
I mean, it's not wrong. That is their challenge.
That is the challenge. It is a challenge. It's a challenge.
And obviously, this lines with the hard right pivot that the race to the right, race to the sea, as it were, just like in Dunkirk. But anyway, the race to the right. If
only we'd all just walk in.
The race to the right, which is what I guess the Liberal Party is now doing, driven by One Nation to try and, I guess, convince the Australian public that is, well, it's funny. I don't know whether they trying to. Again, I'm still struggling to work out what their strategy is here. Like,
as are they?
One. Are they trying to cultivate? Because they said that they need new members. They've got 50,000 members around the country, but that's apparently pretty low. It doesn't seem slowing
like
down. So they're looking to increase membership, but in order to do that, like, are you trying to attract the fractions of people that have already left you, or are you trying? Like, do you want to try and get back towards the centre where most people? I just don't.
No. Mr. Abbott is expected to step down from his role on the advisory board of Advance Australia, having joined the Conservative lobby group in 2023, as reported by the ABC. I was astounded to read that. I had no idea that Abbott was, like, the fact that he was on the advisory board of Advance Australia is astounding. That a former Prime Minister, head of the Liberal Party, was part of such a far-right. Like, I hesitate to even call them conservative. It's like far-right, borderline sort of like ideologue, hard right, borderline fascistic kind of organization that they're putting together there.
I mean, there is
right-wing populist, right? That's the term now. And
there
now
is
he's
kind
just going to go back to,
concept
being the president of the Liberal Party. Like, oh, okay, cool.
Because he was pushed out, in being pushed out, the people that embraced him were the ones from that. He was always
right-wing psychos.
He was always a conservative member of the Liberal Party.
Hard right. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
But the point being is you get driven into an ecosphere,
ecosystem,
a noise chamber or whatever, where you're just huffing each other's farts.
Yeah.
And this is where, you get, then you got the conservative movement in the US influencing it. The conservative movement in the UK influencing it. They're all connected. So, there is this really far right faction now in global politics, I guess, that's looking to take over the traditional conservative parties. Now, and they've kind of done that. The moderates, Susan Ley was a moderate, believe it or not. She's now gone. Now there's the ones that are left haven't got any sway, so now it's going to be more of this, and this is why
Angus Taylor's been purging. He's been doing his Stalinist purges and getting rid of any internal opposition and marginalising any of those people who might have been described as moderates.
And this is why they've got policies now, like, we're going to clamp back on migration. It's the stuff that's working for One Nation, and they can see it working for One Nation, so they're trying to match them. But the thing is, they're chasing, I would argue, fractions of a demographic.
Yeah,
they're
rather
not chasing
than going to where the electorate is.
Yeah,
which is now predominantly millennials who are sick to fucking death of this far right wing politics. Like, we hate it.
The one thing I'll say
in polls, right?
10, 15 years ago, was the young liberal movement was fairly successful. You grab all the grads.
It was very visible.
It was very visible. You grab them, probably because I was living through it, and you'd see them at the various uni functions or whatever. They're trying to grab the graduates or the people who are studying business at university, get them into the system early. That's where you got, who's the senator? James Patterson, came out of that sort of that ecosystem, as far as I'm aware.
He definitely looks like a young liberal.
But like, I don't see the mass, but like that's a very small bunch of the of a university electorate, for instance.
And,
right?
and the thing is,
it's a fraction of a demographic.
If you're a disaffected white voter who secretly or not so secretly harbors a bunch of racist politics, why would you vote for the Liberals when you can just vote for One Nation and get the real thing? Why would you vote for Diet Coke when you can go full strength, right? Like
the other thing Australians haven't. This is the thing. This is why this is the crazy thing, right? Australians hate Trump because they can smell the bullshit. Australians can.
They don't hate the fascism. They just hate the bullshit.
They hate the bullshit.
Yeah, that's true.
And we have a nose for it. We hate that and we can smell the bullshit on the Liberal Party. And that's why they got voted out overwhelmingly. We could smell the bullshit. That's why
Dutton lost
on the Liberal
his seat,
Party,
right? Like,
it stunk, and it doesn't matter if you've got the best policies in the world. If people can smell we have a tall poppy syndrome,
and they don't. To be clear,
if we can smell the bullshit and if we can see the tall poppy, we are going to cut that tall poppy right at the fucking hip.
Yeah.
And policies aside, no matter which side of politics you are, that's a central Australian tenet. And the thing is, at the moment, people are seeing they're seeing the bullshit in Labor as well, to be clear.
Yeah.
And that is why there is also, Labor voters going to One Nation as well.
I remember you saying that. Keep in mind
that sounds all right. That's she said. Some of the stuff she says, right. She sounds like an idiot. But some of the stuff she said, if you listen to it, makes great sense.
She's fucking dumb as a box of rocks, but she talks like a real fucking person. You know what I mean? I really cannot wrap my head around people who are like, oh, Pauline's the one who's going to save us. The chip shop lady's coming to the fucking rescue, mate. Like, I really don't. If you're not a racist. If you don't hate foreigners, I don't understand. Like, you must not have a brain in your head if you're voting for One Nation, right? I
think what's going to happen here is that. So, people aren't going to vote for her as a prime minister. Like, she's a senator one.
She's the senator number one, so she can't be prime minister. But
But what's going to happen is if let's say over the next 2 elections, so the next 6 years, this trend keeps going. They're going to get someone in there who isn't an idiot, who is fairly charismatic, and who is in the lower house.
Like Malcolm the Living Soul Roberts or Barnaby Beetroot. Barnaby Beetroot Joyce.
They'll find someone. There are people out there that that might not be in politics, that might be part of the Advance. Like Advance Australia will find these people and throw them into it, right? Once people are sort of engaged in the political circus, then there'll be people out there that are willing to say and do stuff to get power. So I'm just saying it's kind of like Nigel Farage. Like if you keep at it long enough, eventually
you just chip away.
The tide starts to turn, and you can change the politics. Again, I've said it for the last 2 weeks in a row. If the people's circumstances on the ground don't start to change,
materially improved, I get it.
Materially improve, it's going to keep going.
Yeah, I would also say that, for the listeners listening, take Adam's analysis with a grain of salt, because he was a man who mere weeks ago was saying, now keep in mind, One Nation have never won a lower house seat, okay? They just don't have it. They don't have the organizational capability. They're a bunch of monkeys, right? They don't fucking know what they're doing.
They are a bunch of monkeys.
They are a bunch of monkeys, but with the addition of David Farley, they now have their first ever lower house seat in federal parliament. So
this is true.
That aged like fucking milk, Adam.
It did.
That video's coming around in the fucking comments again. People going, oh, are you going
to splice that clip together and put it with this clip?
I think I have to now. I think I'm obliged to now.
I mean, I struggle to see how they would. So the momentum's there. I struggle to see how they'll administer it, because they haven't got the 50,000 members of the Liberal Party with who's on the vice presidency, Alexander Downer and a few other people there, Carolyn Inge. There's actually two Carolyns.
Political heavyweights. They've been around for many, many years.
Yeah, so these people know how to do it, right?
But so does Barnaby Joyce. This is why they're bringing in some of these other kind of more experienced political operatives who understand how the system works. I mean, don't forget, One Nation, yes, they've been a basket case, but they have been around for a long time. Like, Pauline Hanson's been around since the 90s, right? Like,
I just don't understand how. I mean, I guess it's just ideology. I don't understand how the Liberal Party think that they're going to claw back. They're going to increase membership, and they're going to claw back voter share,
and also swing to the hard right.
They must just think. Well, they must see the swing to One Nation and go, we've got to be doing what they're doing. But, like, even that is still a fraction of... It's all fractions of demographics. It's
fractions of fractions. It's not the way you can build a winning coalition to take back Parliament, right? And whilst they're worried about losing votes to the right and they're chasing this, they're getting sandwiched on the right by One Nation and the Nationals, they're also getting... sandwiched on the left by Labor, who's very much moved to the centre in the last 2 election cycles. And they're much more concerned about going after the small percentage on the right rather than the majority percentage in the middle. And so they're just decreasing the relevance of themselves as any kind of political entity going forward. It's the same thing as the Tories over in the UK. Everyone's so worried about reform. Everyone's so worried about One Nation that everyone's swinging to the right. And it's like, well, One Nation / reform still occupies that space. So they're not going anywhere. Why would they go for the Diet Coke when they can get the full strength?
Yep.
So they're worried about chasing the 5% when they're losing the centre.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't seem like... And Malcolm Turnbull is just sitting in his, third house in Brighton, just rocking back and forth, going, I fucking told him. I fucking told him they're losing the centre. What do they do? He's just like, this traumatized post-traumatic stress disorder.
I don't know if he's stressed. I reckon
exactly what I fucking said.
I reckon he's sitting back.
What about the review after the Liberal Party
I reckon
lost?
he's sitting back and having a drink. Oh, fuck the review. That doesn't matter.
The review that said we need to tack back to the centre and show a kinder... And that's why they elected Susan Ley, right? After they lost again with Dutton. In a historic loss with Dutton, they were like, okay, we really need to pay attention to the review and swing back to the centre. Tried that for 9 months and went, nah, fuck it. It's fun. I really just enjoy being a right-wing psycho.
YOLO.
And she takes the joy out of it, like...
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, keep in mind, in their seats, they've all been elected relatively well in terms of margins. So as far as they can see, the people that they serve want this to happen.
They absolutely have a lock on their 46 seats in Parliament, which is, as you'll note, not a majority and never will be at this rate.
It's less than that, isn't it?
I think it's 46, 40-something. It's a handful.
That's with the Nationals as well, I think, isn't it?
43 seats in the lower house. That's the full coalition. Yeah.
Yeah, but the Liberals are like...
Liberals are even less, There's whatever, a couple of dozen...
30
dozen or something.
Nationals.
No, there's not 30 nationals. I think the ratio
is... It's about 10 Nationals and there's about 30 Liberals.
And then there's, 30-something coalition, So...
Back of the envelope maths. So anyway, you can see the Liberals have listened, they've learned, and they've gone back to the future, as it were, or the past.
Back to the past. Which, Back to the Future was a film about going back to the past. So I feel like, sort of thematically, you sort of landed where you wanted to there.
Somewhere in the...
I don't know, man. I just don't... Yeah, as you say, the math is not mathing for me as to how the Liberals can ever see themselves back to any kind of winning coalition. I say coalition in terms of the voter base, not the coalition. I just don't see how you can build a consensus majoritarian position with the policies and the personalities and the right-wing, like, thinly veiled, xenophobic, sort of policy positions.
Particularly given demographics have changed so much over the last 20 years that
demographics in terms of racial minorities, demographics in terms of millennials. Millennials are now the largest sort of, political cohort, and we are uniquely kind of, even compared to Gen Zers and Gen Alpha below us, millennials are uniquely not becoming more conservative as we age.
It's actually the generations below us are actually getting
more conservative
than us,
which is crazy to me. So there's, considering that the millennials are becoming the majority cohort and they are historically uniquely predisposed to left-wing politics, I'd see unless something massive changes in the Liberal Party or they succeed in radicalizing most of the country into some
circumstances change. There's a crisis, and they take advantage of that, right?
Maybe, but unless Australia becomes the xenophobic hellscape that they seem to think that it is, or they want it to be. Like, I just don't see how they ever get
You can't
power.
go and insult, like the large population bases are in the eastern seaboard, 3 capital cities, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane. There are large populations of migrant communities in those cities.
Yeah.
You know, you can't piss off the entire Chinese populace. You can't piss
the
off
Liberal
the
Party
entire
did this, where they
Indian,
went,
Sikh, whatever policy. Like, these guys are the ones that would have voted for you, by the way. These are the ones
naturally fairly conservative. That's the thing. Yeah.
They would vote for you if you weren't being racist shills.
Yeah. Yeah,
and they've marginalised an entire community.
They like cutting taxes
and
cutting funding to the disadvantaged. But what really gets them up in the morning is racial hatred. Like that really is that is their raison d'etre. That's a reason for existing. That's why they get up in the morning, is to just spread divisive hate, right?
Itty bitty.
And we've seen this with the tack to, cracking down on trans rights and all this sort of bullshit that has not been an element outside of like Catherine Deves here in Australia, and like Scott Morrison right towards the end. This whole transphobia thing has not been an element of Australian politics, right? And now Angus Taylor's like, well, I see how this anti-trans stuff is working across overseas, so let's have some of that. Like, why not? Why not create our own fucking culture war out of whole cloth for the purposes of dividing people? Why not?
Again, it was 10, 15 years ago, there were a bunch of moderates that held the line, and even when just to get a plebiscite across the line, like
oh my God,
was like pulling teeth for.
Could you imagine getting that by today? No way. With the Liberal Party in its current form, absolutely not.
New fan of the show, Ibby Dibby Ones in the comments, and they've said would the I think it's meant to be Teals forming a party wedge the LNP more than if they were independent? It's an interesting question that has been talked about. So yes, the Teals are talking about formalising themselves as a party.
I
don't know.
No,
yeah.
I think that would massively disadvantage the Teals. I think part of the reason that the Teal independents came in is because they came in at the behest of the community independence movement, which is actually like a really structured way of community consultation and then surfacing from the bottom up political candidates who reflect those communities. Correct. If you and kind of predicated on some of the rage against the impotence of the major political parties to be able to actually do anything. So if you then turn around and say, hey, we're just like the other parties now, we're together.
You neutralise your value.
Yeah, that's the whole point, is Monique Ryan represents Kooyong.
Yeah,
right?
you elect an independent to be your voice.
You're independent to represent you and your community.
Hobart's
if you just go, now we're just another party, and they go, well, fuck yous then. Like,
Hobart's had, Andrew Wilkie for donkey's years now.
Yeah.
And he's never getting unseated unless he quits. So, like, because people, for whatever reason, people see him as not bullshitting.
Yeah.
That he's not full of, well, sometimes he's a bit full of shit, but like, people see him holding power to account, which is what they want. They want him calling out the bullshit.
Yeah.
And that is why, Monique Ryan and others have done so well.
If David Pocock joins the Greens, then people will bring all of their prior assumptions and biases for and against the Greens to his candidacy.
Yeah.
The fact that he is an independent is what gives him strength, is what gives him the power. Now, I understand the virtues, the advantages of being part of a party structure is you have that backup, right? You can operate in a way where, there are these rules in Parliament where it's like, I think Labor brought them in last cycle where it was like, if you're an independent, you get fewer staffers, you get less support, you get less resources, like all the sort of stuff, right? So being part of a formalized political party does give you some advantages. But for the Teals, I don't see how, I can't see it being anything except an utter disaster for them if they were to actually form a political party, because then it just confirms all of the right-wing talking points all along, was that they are a coordinated party that are secretly working together to, to stooge the Liberals, right? I think it would be a bad idea, personally.
100%.
But
I can see, there's there'd be some things that are good for it, but it's
and you could coordinate funding, and
but they kind of already are, but they're doing it through
Climate 200 or whatever, or
it's different ways to skin the cat, I guess.
And they do have meaningfully different views on things as well. It's not like they have a really cohesive political platform on which they could join together.
Some of them are fairly conservative, Allegra Spender for, she's an independent,
and they have their own pet issues and things like that. Like I remember someone describing the Teals as people who believe in climate change but still have a property portfolio. Yeah. It's they're sort of like those people who were the inner city blue liberal, but they don't want to vote Labor, and so they want someone else to sort of stick the landing in the middle. But I do see meaningful differences in terms of the focus of different independents, and some are more focused on corruption, some are more focused on climate change, some are more focused on sort of gendered issues and political accountability for things. Like David Pocock has obviously got his pet issue of the gas tax, I just don't see that being a workable, cohesive political party that could join together. I say that knowing full well that One Nation is far more disparate in terms of its views and its policies, and yet they've managed to stitch together a coalition of the unwitting for themselves. So who knows? Maybe I'm an idiot.
Idiots.
Yeah.
But we're going to finish today on some good news for once, and that is that in Laos, the villagers that were stuck, the miners that were stuck in the cave, have been pulled out, or have been found out, have been pulled out. Or have come out, actually, in some cases as well. So
they came out themselves. I saw they're about to head in and sort of scope out. So they've been draining it, and then they thought, okay, we're going to go in, scope, and see if it's the water's low enough that we can pull them out. And then as they're turning around to go in, the miners sort of coming out, and they're some really emotional scenes of people cry, just weeping openly at seeing the sun again. And I don't know what these guys looked like beforehand. The guys that I saw coming out, maybe it's just because they've been in there without food for 10 days and they've really they look snatched. They look, really slim and ripped, shredded.
They were
pretty... They looked shredded.
They were very fairly weak and dehydrated. And so look, what we've sort of put the headline before the context, but basically what had happened was...
I didn't even hear about this story. I was knee-deep in Marcus Aurelius this week, and I really just switched off the news for a couple of days, so I missed this.
Imagine, because years ago, there was the schoolboys in the cave, right? This is a similar sort of thing.
The Thai
schoolboys,
the soccer team that was stuck in the cave,
so similar sort of, basically the same thing happened. So there's a bunch of locals, though, some villagers that went up to the cave looking for gold, basically. And they were in the cave, and while they were in the cave, it started raining, and the cave flooded. And then they were, just like the Thai schoolboys, they were stuck there inside the cave in a chamber. So same thing as the Thai situation. They got a bunch of divers, international, divers rocked up as well, and they went in and actually found them.
Well, notably, Elon Musk didn't call anyone a pedophile this time around. But like I said, everything old is new again. We've gone back in time.
We've gone back in time. They found them. They gave them some blankets, food, water, and they pulled one of them out. And then, the four remaining villagers came out of their own accord. Now, they are saying that there is still potentially 2 people that are stuck somewhere in the cave system. So they're going back in to look for those people. So what had happened was, as the cave was filling up, one guy managed to get out and go and tell everyone what was happening. Because if he hadn't have got out, I don't know if it would have been, people wouldn't have realised they were missing for a while, and maybe it would have been a different story, right? But he reckoned there was an extra couple of people in there, so they're still looking for these other people. And thankfully, the other thing that's made a difference here, which was very difficult with the Thai situation, was that they've been able to pump the water out, and it's stopped raining, so the water levels have gone down, whereas in Thailand, the water just kept filling up. So, it is a wonderful news story, and one of those ones that we don't see very often, where it just fills your sort of human spirit and hope and all that kind of stuff. It's a good outcome. So if you ever get stuck in a cave, don't despair.
Bro, I'm never going in a cave.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I'm never getting in a helicopter. No. I'm never getting in a cave. I'm never going skydiving. Fuck all these things,
fun.
bro. Absolutely not.
Fun.
Nope.
Skydiving's fun.
No.
I don't know about caves, though. I don't know about caves. Caves are scary. There was also those guys in the Maldives that went diving in a cave and died recently as well. Cave diving and just caving in general just scares the shit out of me. It's too... I don't know. Scary as shit.
They delved too greedily and too deep, and they unlocked something treacherous under the mountain.
Indeed. I wonder if they found any gold after all that.
You'd fucking hope so,
right?
Was it worth it, bro? Guy emerges with just like a chicken nugget size, chunk of gold. Just like, I fucking got it though. Worth it. Obviously that those great that those guys survived. As you mentioned, there may still be two other men still missing in the cave, but they said they've explored it and their survivors or bodies have not been found. So
sure.
Who knows exactly what's happened with those guys. But yeah, it is, as you say, a genuinely good news story to see. Like, just to see a grown man just like embracing other people and like crying in relief at the prospect of being alive. I was like, I don't know. Part of me thought, man, I got to stop eating so many donuts. I need to be a bit more grateful for my fucking life.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's whatever problems you got, they're sort of pale in comparison a little bit to something that
namaste,
other people are going through. Fucking namaste, mate.
Namaste. I don't know what that means. What does it mean? I don't know.
It means I think the literal translation is the light in me sees the light in you. Like it's a spiritual term.
That works in that context. I'll take that. Yeah,
a greeting of some kind. It's also the sort of thing that people who do too much yoga on Bondi Beach say to one another. So I think the original meaning has been perhaps somewhat diluted
by Western yogarial. That's not a real thing.
Yogarial. On that note.
Okay, is the word speciality a word, or is it specialty, or are they two different words?
It's specialty.
But I think speciality is also a word. It's my speciality. I was debating this with my wife. Today.
Okay, well, you're definitely in the wrong. I'm definitely on your wife's side. So specialty, a special pursuit, occupation, aptitude, or skill, a branch of medicine or surgery, a specialty, an item or product of distinctive kind,
Isn't
or
there
of a
also
particular
like a speciality store? Isn't that a thing?
Speciality is not a no.
Isn't that a word? Is that a word?
Speciality.
Litty at the end.
Speciality. Oh, it is. It isn't. It is in fact its own word. Oh,
so it's two words. So the specialty.
It's two different words. A distinguishing mark or feature. Special points of consideration, or a chiefly British way of saying a specialty. Okay.
Right.
I stand corrected.
So the reason why we brought this up, and the reason why my wife and I were discussing it, which is completely unrelated to anything we have just discussed, is because we were down at our local strip, and we were having...
I thought you were about to say down at the local strip club.
Strip club. That's a thing we do of a weekend.
Just Bobby's, Speedy Pete's strippers.
Yeah. And yeah, they were like, it was like all the coffee stores were like specialty or like speciality. And I read one and I was like, it says speciality. And I was like, no, it's specialty. I was like, no, but that says speciality. And then I was like, wigging out as to like how to spell or say that word, but it's actually two different words. So there you go.
So I think the assumption is that specialty is American English and speciality is British English.
I thought it was the other way around. Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Anyway, glad we solved that.
Twin Rotors in the chat saying, I just cannot work out why people vote against their own interests. What's the linkage between Farage, Hanson, and Trump? Does the leader have complete control over their party? And he's saying he's an old fan. Itty Bitty One said he was a new fan, love the pod. Twin Rotors said old fans still love the pod. So thank you, Twin Rotors. Do you have an opinion on this,
The linkage
Adam?
is the money. as far as I'm aware. So there are
billionaire money, and CPAC is the linkage, right?
Yeah, American money being spread out to the, like Mormon propaganda, like it's religious propaganda is what I'm getting at here. There's a whole backstory.
Adam saw the Book of Mormon again recently. It's unrelated.
Sorry. Yeah, unrelated. Anyway. But yes, American money chiefly has and influence and this conservative network has been building over the last 20 years and becoming, sharing ideas. There's the whole James Ashby, when one day James Ashby and Pauline
when
Hanson
James Ashby got on the Source, that was a trip where they went to go and visit the NRA. In America to be like, can you give us any tips on how to be gun-toting right-wing psychos?
Advance Australia is just a CPAC rip-off, basically. An affiliate.
And you see it in Europe as well. To the Farage point, you see Viktor Orban and
they're all jerking each other off at parties,
right-wing networks. It's something the left has never really done well.
No.
There's been no global organized left. You don't see Mark Carney giving, Albo a hand job.
What about the New World Order? The New World Order. The new global world order.
Mate. It's the global government coming to get us. Meanwhile, we can't even get fucking petrol.
That's what they worried about. This is what they worried about back in the, the 50s, 60s, 70s.
I remember,
was this global communist conspiracy. And look, to be fair, the Russians inspired Mao, but this is the point. Mao was like, I don't actually like what the Russians are doing.
They weren't the best of friends. Yeah,
so
famously,
while communism as a concept has spread throughout the world, socialism, was a German idea, right? The implementations, the global in this day and age, the capitalist version.
It wasn't backed by the global network of capital and there's kind of pipelines like Turning Point USA that sort of, to your point earlier, Adam, like the Federalist Society where they find, young liberal types at universities and funnel them through and try and get them to be the youngest judge ever at 32. We're just getting Yale law students and making them federal Republican judges now, in order to try and push them through the pipeline. There was never that kind of organized effort on the left. So I do think it is networks of influence, networks of capital, billionaire interests are inherently kind of like Gina Reinhardt here in Australia. I'm sure there are billionaires over in the UK, as well as, Elon Musk, over in America and others, Miriam Adelson over in the United States, and you see Elon Musk talking at AfD, far-right German political party protests. He joins them via, video link and speaks at their rallies sort of thing.
And, Tony Abbott, Joe Hockey, all these guys that were part of the conservative movement back in 2014, 2015 are now major, and you can see it on former members of the Howard, government. They're all
Hockey
on the speaking circuit, as part of these.
So there's the money,
things.
Right? So that's definitely one aspect of it. I would also say that I would really suggest reading Ezra Klein's book Why We're Polarized, which talks about this a lot, about why to Twin wrote an actual question in the chat, why do people vote against their own interests? Well, a lot of it is the descent into talking about identity politics. Your stance on abortion, your stance on, the things on which you are single issue voters are more meaningful to you than your actual economic reality. And making that the case for people. It's been a deliberate effort from these kind of conservative organizations to split people off in these directions to say,
you target values as opposed to
you were focusing
ideas.
On Christian family values, or against gay rights, or against abortion, so if you're against any of those things, you're then kind of forced to make a choice. Well, am I going to be against 80% of these social things that I believe in, or am I going to vote in my own self-interest? And people are actually remarkably susceptible to capture in this regard, which is why Ezra Klein calls it the great sort. If you tell me your position on gun rights and climate change and abortion, I can tell you with a 95% degree of certainty which party you belong to, because those two positions have now become so calcified and so codified that there's not really a lot of room for movement. Prior to that, in the 60s and earlier, there was a lot more mushiness between the parties. It wasn't so thoroughly, the line wasn't so clearly drawn. You had Southern Democrats who were like, racist, but also still Democrats, and so they believed in workers' rights, but just like not for black people, right? So during the 30s, there was this like Democrat supermajority, which is how FDR was able to get through his New Deal and all these kind of massive reforms through, because there was this kind of fusion between labor and that cut across different kinds of class and racial dynamics. And then it was a deliberate effort from kind of like the 70s onward with Nixon and what they called the Southern strategy to make that racial element an explicit part of their campaigning and how they would try and sort of divide people and what kind of votes they would go after. That whole thing of the white Christian ethno-state really started to take hold there. So
that's the American side of it. I mean, in terms of how it relates to One Nation and Trump, I just think that there is this
kind of perfused widely throughout politics now. It's like the social issues are the main thing. It's like, no, really, the economic issues are kind of the main thing, and all the other stuff is bundled in with that. Economic equity is also racial equity, is also gender equity.
Well,
I would argue. But
what One Nation and Farage have been able to do quite well, UKIP before it was reform, is they tie the value to the economic issue.
Yeah.
They tie the migrants.
The reason you've got less is because the immigrants are coming in and taking it from you.
Which is a Nazi thing.
Not
right?
because the bill...
That's a fascist thing.
Oh, 100%.
Like that's it. And the reason why the fascists do it is because it works.
It works.
You tie the value thing to the economic and the material situation.
And they have a story to tell about it. The reason you're poor, the reason you're not feeling good, the reason you feel disadvantaged is because the immigrants or the trans or the whatever minority, pick a minority that we can, subjugate.
Pick the other.
The other. They're the ones that are taking it from you. And that people look at the jingling set of keys over here and they don't see themselves getting fucked in the ass from behind by the billionaire, by the Epstein class, by the Gina Reinhardts, by the Elon Musks, if we keep you distracted with these social issues up front, you don't realize how badly you're getting economically fucked. But the problem is now we're actually at a point of breakage where, due to the way that the economies, globally have been mismanaged to such a degree, we're actually hitting a point where people's economic realities are no longer kind of paper overable with this kind of social division, and people are just going, I can't pay for my life. I can't afford to live the life that I have. What the fuck happened?
I'd argue that when it gets this bad, though, this is when the social, the fascist, what do you call it?
It's an even stronger
the dog
message.
Whistling is actually more effective because people get desperate. Anyway, speaking of desperate, we've been talking for an hour, and we said it was going to be a quick 45-minute show today.
In and out.
4 stories.
I don't think I agreed to 45 minutes. That's I'm going to say that.
We said under an hour.
I don't know.
But anyway, we appreciate your questions. We appreciate people getting involved in the chat. Please continue to do so. And we'll see you guys next week.
On that note, we have been, we are, and we always will be Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com. Make sure you follow us on all the bullshit social medias that are ruining the world, that have, do, or ever will exist, at our handle, at Unnatural Show. That's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and mother flippin' TikTok. Make sure you follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Jorge Tsipos.
And you can not follow me down to a cave, because I'm pretty sure I'm never going in a cave ever again. I have been in a couple of caves, but they were really big caves. They weren't like small caves. I don't want to go anywhere near a small cave. It's scary as shit.
No caves, no helicopters, no skydiving. And if I die doing one of those things, you can say I told you so. Or you can say you know what I mean. Don't die. Dying is bad. This is going off the rails.
George told himself.
I will tell myself from the afterlife. I told you so. Yeah, it's kind of, now that I say it out loud, it makes less sense. Thanks for listening, guys. Love your faces. We'll see you next week.